Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Canada. I want to give a big shout out to the Big C tribe in Africa. They've been broadcasting Big C Sports from the pyramids in Giza. Also, Big C, you know we love you up in Canada, but there's still no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, it was a tumultuous churning weekend down here in the south. You know, college football got turned on its ear on one side, got standing up for happy and delighted on the other. I mean, the bowl committee right now, Charlton, is in a freakish state.
Yep, that's true, Big C. I think, was it that good old boy for Alabama, the Coach Saban, didn't he say that rankings don't matter? Do you think he's chewing on those words now, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, rankings don't matter until the final rankings come out, ironically.
Yep.
You know, there's still several scenarios that could allow Alabama to get into the playoff series, and you have to look no further than Ohio State last year.
Yeah.
Not to have played in your conference championship game, not to have won your conference championship.
Yep.
But they say the eye test. And I don't know what the eye test is because I only got
you don't wear glasses.
So I'm trying to figure out which one is the best of the four. So,
yeah.
And that's the four teams that are in the playoffs when it comes down to that. But, the eye test is like, everybody says Alabama's number one.
Yeah.
Alabama had the 64th ranked strength of record in college football, Charlton.
Wow.
64th.
Wow.
So when you sit there and everybody has blasted Wisconsin all year long, Charlton.
Yeah.
About that they didn't have a strong schedule. Alabama is, as we talked about before, you and I, the heritage schools, okay?
Yeah.
That's what Alabama is a heritage school, because when you look at Auburn has played more ranked teams than Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay? Everybody said, well, they had 2 early season losses. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
But as we get past week 9 in college football, it's a playoff every week.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it comes down to, is a playoff. It's not about who you played in the past. It's who you're playing now, because you're playing single elimination games.
Yeah.
A loss for you can eliminate you from everything. And when you talk about it, how many 2-loss teams are there out there that they're talking about are in contention?
Yeah, a lot of them now.
It is with Auburn, and they will be ranked probably number 2 tonight. Clemson will probably go to number 1.
Yep.
Auburn will go to number 2. You'll get Wisconsin in at number 3, which they should be number 1.
Yeah.
Okay? And you'll most likely have Oklahoma at number 4 when the rankings come out tonight, Charlton.
That's true.
But, when you look at this thing, this is a popularity and travel contest.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Don't be fooled by the best teams, because there's only 2 undefeated teams left in college football. Central Florida's undefeated under Scott Frost.
Yeah.
They're not going to even be considered, because this is a tournament for the Power 5 conferences to take all the money in college football.
Yeah, they will definitely.
That's what it's all about.
Yep, and they'll definitely take the money, Big C. I want to say today is a beautiful November the 27th, 2017, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And Big C Sports, we're big on giving, nuptials. And we're big on, now this may be a bit controversial, but prenuptial agreements. Now, when you're Prince Harry, I want to congratulate Prince Harry and he's engaged to a beautiful woman, Meghan Markle. They call her a biracial woman. Okay, it's important for the English to mention she's biracial. All life came from Africa. If they Google Dr. Mengele and Gregor Leaking, but they say she's a biracial African-American woman, and he's the son of the late, Prince Charles and the late Princess Diana, and she was dating, I think, Dodi Al-Fayed. And so I look at what's happening in the world of love. Everything's fair in love and war, right, Big C? So give me your thoughts on why it's like, I guess who's coming to dinner across the pond, Big C? That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton sitting 48 is rearing his head once again. Long respect to Tracy, when you think about it.
Yeah.
But this is a relationship that's been going on sometime between Prince Harry and Markle.
Yeah, 2016.
And so, this is what the world has become.
Yeah.
The world is not that eugenic site that it once was 100 years ago.
Nope.
Where you could have separation of societies and cultures and you could not intermingle.
Yeah.
She's a biracial child, Charlton, But, the bottom line is that she's a woman.
Yeah.
No one should look beyond that point that she's a woman.
Yep.
She's a woman of character, substance, and success alone. She's a graduate of Northwestern University, Charleston, so she's highly educated.
Yep.
More so than a lot of the bimbos that will go out there and blast her.
Yep.
She's an accomplished professional on her own, working in television and acting for years.
Yep.
But, she's a woman of substance more than anything else. She's a woman of substance. Charlton, this is not the first American who has gone into England and to be heir to a crown, okay? This has happened 100 years ago before.
Yeah.
So when you think about this, Charlton, this is nothing new.
Nope.
But society now, with all of its social activists and social media people, will make more of it than what it is. When people are in love and care about each other, should there be anything other than that? This is not, Roy Moore in Alabama molesting some teenage girl.
Exactly.
This is not the president going out grabbing some woman when she's not wanted to be grabbed, or any other politician doing that, Charlton.
Yeah.
These are two consenting adults who keep their relationship in the world's focus.
Yeah.
Who are not hiding anything.
Yep.
Not going back saying, well, I didn't do that and I don't recall, as Jeff Sessions would say all the time, I don't recall.
You don't recall.
Okay? It's amazing how a lot of people in the South don't recall. I know everybody drinks moonshine.
Yep.
But I don't recall. It's one of the famous sayings in the South.
That's because they drink too much of it, Big C. I do want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I think I've adopted a new name, at least for this show. It's called Prince Charlton and Prince Big C Show. Big C, does that ring a bell? Prince Charlton and Prince Big C Show. Does that make any sense to you, Big C?
I think I would rather have some knighthood, Charlton. I'd rather be blessed by the Queen, and have that establishment. As we look, in the polarizing of this, prenuptial that's going on now over in Europe, Charlton.
Crazy.
This could be a catapulting scenario for world society.
Yeah.
As we look amongst a monarchy, Charlton.
Yeah.
To show that it can be integrated as well as any other part of America. This shows the changing face of the landscape of the world.
Yeah.
And if the monarchy of England, which has been purely what it has been for centuries, Charlton, can integrate and accept, and its people can accept, why can't the world live that way also, Charles?
Well, Big C, that's a very good point. There's a lot of ignorance. I mean, even we call ourselves a Christian country, the land of the free, home of the brave, and we love everybody, and everybody is great, and all people are created the same. But when you study science, and science does tell us that all life came from the African continent. And even if you consider religious talk, Jesus only walked the African continent. He never walked Russia. He didn't walk China. He didn't walk American continent. Only on the African continent. It was all called Ethiopia at one time. And you good old boys can Google that too. So congratulations to Love. I think when you look at the times that we live in, especially in the United States, and we are the land of the free and the home of the brave, but my goodness, there's a lot of bigotry when people get the chance to go behind closed doors, and Donald Trump brings it outdoors. That's the only thing different about him. His bigotry is not behind closed doors. He's more open about it. I want to bring up this point before we get onto some sports. And someone brought it up to me, a Caucasian woman of all people, okay? This blonde hair, blue-eyed, in California, people interact, Big C. So she says, you know what? It's amazing that Donald Trump will blast someone who's standing for equal rights for everybody, which is Colin Kaepernick, criminal justice reform. He'll blast someone like Jamil Hill, who's on ESPN, and I guess they put her on the sideline for a couple of weeks for saying something about him. He'll also grab women by the vagina. As that's called sexual assault when you go into the courthouse, Big C. And then he tries to hire men who are accused of pedophilia, dating teenage girls. Not dating, but assaulting teenage girls. And we know he's had like 17 accusations himself. I think that's important because a man can sexually assault a woman. He'll get Donald Trump's praise more than a man asking for civil rights. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, when we look at 2 days after that Access Hollywood tape came out of Donald Trump's voice, speaking about how he loved to denigrate and disrespect and assault women.
Yeah.
He came out 2 days after that in a press release of him on air stating that he apologized for his actions and he was inappropriate in doing them, okay?
Yeah.
This weekend, Donald Trump came out and says that he feels that tape was not authentic.
Wow.
That it was doctored, that it was fake.
Yeah.
He apologized 2 days after it was released.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out which lie is it that Donald Trump is telling, okay?
Yeah, I think he's saying all the 17 allegations of the lawsuits are fake too, Big C. Everything's fake when it's not in his way, Big C. That's what I understand.
So is it fake news that he's spewing over the weekend to say that these allegations, that this tape was altered and it wasn't authentic, it wasn't his voice, it was someone else doing a voiceover?
Wow.
And he came out and apologized on national television 2 days later that was fake, it was altered. So, the thing about this, his base is what it is.
Yeah.
His base is finally getting a second dose of reality right now, Charlton.
Yeah.
They got a dose of reality and was trying to repeal Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act.
Yep.
When they found out that they were the ones who would be kicked off of this Affordable Care Act, that they would no longer have insurance for themselves and their children and their families.
Yeah.
Okay? Now they're talking about this tax reform, okay?
Yep.
Where everybody who makes under $75,000 in America will see a huge increase in their taxes.
They don't know that yet.
Now, I'm trying to figure out how many Americans make less than $75,000.
About 80%.
And especially those in his base.
Yeah.
How many of those?
About 90%.
So about 90%, 95% of his base.
Yeah.
That make less than $75,000 a year. When they sit there and talk about make America great again, he's not going to get you a job. He's going to raise the taxes that you make. So how good a job is he doing for you now?
Well, Big C, I'd say they say a fool and his money are soon to part. But it's all fair in love and war again. Congratulations to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and all people all over the world. We're all from the same tribe, the human race. Big C, speaking of the human race, I'm going to call you Prince Big C just for today's show, Prince Big C. So Prince Big C got some news in college football. I want to also, give you a pat on the back because I was saying Chip Kelly would not make a lot of sense for UCLA. He's used to yelling at people, and UCLA is more of a relaxed crowd, like the Bill Walton, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar type, the erudite type. They don't like being yelled at like the good old boys in Oregon, but he did get the job with UCLA. And as I started thinking about what you were saying, I think you told me half of his players when he was at Oregon playing for Pac-12 and national championships, half of those guys came from Southern California. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they are from the Southern California basin, but when you look at recruiting on the West Coast and even in the Southwest, Charlton, he did a tremendous job of that from Texas on westward, bringing in players to play in that program that fit his style of play. And there's still players left over at Oregon that he had brought in there, Charlton. There's some fifth-year seniors that are there at Oregon. But, the speed and talent that you can get out of Southern California.
Oh, yeah.
And the speed of offense that he runs based on what they run versus in the SEC, that was not a fit down there. And you think about going to Florida. That's a very fickle crowd. They're not going to like anybody that they bring in there because they were spoiled by Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer winning national championships. Now, when they hired McElwain, they said they had the perfect guy for the job, okay?
Yeah, they did.
It didn't last long. That honeymoon was over in a hurry. Because we found out that winning on a national level is just not there.
No.
And Chip Kelly made the proper decision staying on the West Coast where he has natural roots as far as recruiting, Charlton, and relationships.
Now, that makes a lot of sense, Big C. Also, when you look at other coaches around the country, and I think Chip Kelly will do well in Southern California, not because you had me Google where he gets a lot of his players. That Google messes a lot of people up, Big C. He doesn't lie, doesn't care what color you are, what ethnicity, doesn't even care what religion you are. So good job on that, UCLA and Chip Kelly. Dan Mullins, he left Mississippi State to go to Florida. And again, this is a regional thing. A lot of times players can go to schools, but if those schools are not part of that heritage system where the conference wants you to win championships. The Pac-12 wants USC to be in the championship game every year or every other year. They want Stanford or Washington or Oregon. They're not trying to get Washington State. They're not trying to get Arizona. If you're down in the SEC, they want schools like Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, Florida, LSU. Does that make any sense? Well, that's a good job for him to go down to Florida, Big C. He'll have a lot more success there. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Mullen has a history at Florida. You got to realize he was the offensive coordinator when Urban Meyer won his 2 national championships down there. That's what catapulted him to the head coaching job at Mississippi State. Now, you also got to remember 3 years ago, he had Mississippi State the #1 team in the country for about 5 weeks.
Dak Prescott,
so he has the ability to coach, Charlton, and he's going to have more talent that's more willing to come to the University of Florida than what he had to go to Mississippi State, Charlton, which was really an outpost. as far as what you look at conference schools. So he should be able to bring an air of success in. But Charlton, when you look at the SEC, there's going to be 5 new head coaches in the SEC next year.
Yeah.
There's not 5 great coaches to go around, Charlton. You think about Tennessee and what just happened with them and Greg Schiano.
Yeah.
You know, they thought they had a hiring in Greg Schiano, then through social media now, people realize that Greg Schiano was on that Joe Paterno staff with Jerry Sadusky down at Penn State.
Yep.
And so that bothers a lot of people now, Charlton, through social media, and they start talking that he was part of the cover-up.
Yeah.
He was on that coaching staff. Who knows what went on other than the guys that was there?
That's true.
But he was part of that culture, Charlton.
Yeah.
Even though he left, went on to Rutgers.
Yep.
He left Rutgers. Who knows why he left there other than getting a job at Tampa Bay?
Yep.
But these things come out. People are too intelligent now, Charlton, to sit by and let things that have always occurred stay there.
Yeah.
And we see that now with all these women coming out about things that happened years and decades ago, but they didn't have a voice before.
That's
Just
true.
like students now have a voice on what occurs on campus.
Yeah.
And so students don't want that trailing in their campus. You know, Kevin Sumner lost his job at A&M. Mullen moved on. You know, McElwain lost his job. So, Charlton, when we look at the SEC and these 5 coaching vacancies that are going to be there, you got to think about it. Only 3 schools in the SEC that are really dominant. You look at Tennessee, and they got rid of Butch Jones. No one has mentioned T. Martin's name, Charlton.
No.
This is the most appalling of all names that have not been mentioned in college football. T. Martin, the African-American offensive coordinator at USC. The last quarterback to win a national championship at the University of Tennessee, Charlton. And yet Tennessee, the alumni, and everybody else are going elsewhere. Now, you look at the success that the USC offense has had the past couple of years. T. Martin has been the offensive coordinator.
At the
helm. So I think he knows a little bit about, you know, college football's offense as well as he won a national championship as a quarterback.
That's a good point.
His name is always the last one to be mentioned when they talk about coaching hires, Charlton.
Well, they need something that resembles a Rooney Rule for college football, because that's a very good point you brought up. The Trojans are playing for a Pac-12 championship, it seems like every year, and it's tough out in the Pac-12 because they all play each other. They don't really get the duck, and they have that championship game now where they'll have a repeat game against Stanford. I want to touch on a few things in the world of college football, Big C, and just get your thoughts. I know we lightly touched on it, but I do want to give a shout-out to Jeff Tefford at Fresno State. Has the Bulldogs. This is what it's like to get coaches who understand where they recruit from. He recruits North and Southern California and heavily recruits Central California. The Bulldogs were 1-10 last year, 1-10. And they turn around and get a good old boy that knows the system, just like you were saying about T. Martin, and Tennessee ignores him because he's a black man. But Fresno State's now ranked 25th in the country at 9-3. They beat Boise State. And now they're going to play their conference championship in the Mountain West. They'll play it again, but this time at Boise, Idaho. From 1-10 with a homegrown product of Jeff Tefford, who played in the first California Raisin Bowl, went under Cal and coached there at Cal. Now he's back at Fresno. They have a great season, 9-3, ranked 25th in the country. But I want to jump all the way up to the top 10. I look at TCU at 10-2. And they're playing Oklahoma in their championship game of the Big 12. I know that conference pushed so hard, Big C. I'm sorry, Prince Big C, to get that championship game in there. Prince Big C, what are your thoughts on Oklahoma and TCU in the rematch?
Well, Charlton, the loser of that game is eliminated from the College Championship Bowl Series. Only way Big 12 is going to get a team in is that Oklahoma wins. Now, they dominated TCU the first time that they played. It's going to be a little inclement weather when they play this time around, Charlton, and TCU has seen them once. And so they'll be a little more better prepared. Gary Barnett is a tremendous defensive mind. Tennessee is hot. I mean, not Tennessee, but Oklahoma's hot. Baker Mayfield came off the bench last week and led, you know, the Sooners to a victory. But, you know, how excited will they be about playing in this championship? Is his mind going to be on the Heisman, or is Barnett going to have an answer for their offense?
That's a very good point. And it's hard to beat a second time, the same team a second time. And that's the thing that bodes well for Alabama. I know a lot of things will be decided on the field, so Nick Saban was right when he talked about that. Now, we talked about the TCU and Oklahoma. That should be a dynamite football game, Big C. I want to take you to another game. These teams have been seeing themselves get close to the national championship picture, then knocked out of it. We look at number 1 Clemson now, and they're playing number 7 Miami, which was number 2 just on Friday, number 2, and they lost a game, a game that they probably should have won easily, but they did lose. And now we have Clemson playing Miami in a game that everybody thought would decide the ACC championship. Give me your thoughts on who has the advantage in that game, Big C.
Charlton, ironically, the ACC champ will be, if Clemson doesn't win, Miami won't get in. That's the only way the ACC gets in is if Miami wins. They won't let Clemson leapfrog a couple teams, Charlton.
Yeah.
You got to realize that Georgia and Auburn, one of those will eliminate the SEC.
Yep.
And Alabama is hoping that Georgia loses in this game.
Yeah.
They honestly are.
Yeah.
Because it would give them the more strength of schedule, they think, because Georgia would have 2 losses, and they can't put two lost SEC teams into the championship.
Yeah.
Charlton.
Yeah.
So Alabama is praying that Georgia loses and praying that Clemson loses, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they want Wisconsin to lose.
Well, hold on. You just broke the news, Prince Big C. You said Alabama prays. I thought all they did was play football down there. They pray too? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, everybody was in church yesterday. They talk about roll tide. They rolled into church yesterday.
It was pray tide. Okay, pray tide, roll tide, same thing. Should be some dynamite football because we're all looking forward to it. I want to take you out to the West Coast because when we talk about outside looking in, I don't know how much influence Lynn Swann has. I don't know how much influence them good old boys at Stanford have in Silicon Valley. But I don't see them getting into the national championship picture. The winner of the USC-Stanford game will most likely play in the Rose Bowl, which is not bad when the Rose Bowl is a consolation prize. But I got to bring this up to you. If I look at Shaw down at Stanford, Big C, they've been to the Pac-12 championship 4 of the last 7 years that they've had it. That's 4 out of 7 years Coach Shaw has taken his team to the Pac-12 championship game, and ironically, he's in the backyard of the 49ers, who've never made an effort to hire this man, and all he does is, DJ Khaled, all he does is win no matter what, but he can't get a knock or a phone call more than 1 or 2 times from the NFL. But 4 out of 7 times, Stanford, the hardest the academic school on the West Coast, but they win more than anybody. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look down the Southern California Highway, you look at USC.
Yep.
We've had 2 coaches that have moved on to the NFL since David Shaw's been.
Yep, and he's beaten all of them. Yep.
And they've both gotten fired.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
When you think about the ability of him,
yeah,
and what he has done, I guess the players that he coached in college are too intelligent. Think about it. You got to be academically accepted to Stanford.
Yeah.
Before you get
in. Yep.
So he develops all that period when they talk about athletes.
But I thought black guys weren't smart enough to coach a smart team, let alone an academically talented school. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he's very cerebral. The players he coaches are very cerebral.
Yep.
You look at these number 1 draft picks that he has, and half of them African American, Charlton.
Yep.
And so what this coach does when you talk about student athlete, that's what he coaches.
Yeah.
And that's not what the NFL is looking for, someone who coaches a student athlete.
Yeah.
They're looking for someone with a scandalous background.
Yep.
You look at the Pac-10 coaches that have left and gone to the NFL. Generally, they've been followed by a scandal.
Yeah.
Getting out of town. Pete Kelly was, Pete Carroll was.
Yeah.
They got out of there. Lane Kiffin was.
Yeah.
They were in a hurry to go.
Were they all African American? Those coaches creating scandals? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they tanned in the summertime in Southern California.
I understand. Everybody tans in Southern California. So we do have a lot of great college football games coming up, especially this weekend. It seems like, Big C, we've been playing bowl game after bowl game because all of these games matter. And I'm glad that college football's figured it out. I know they're talking about going to 8 games, but at some point in time, I think there was a player that made a point, and he came out of the high school region, and he's a basketball player. He was an All-American in high school. He actually went to LSU. I can't remember who he is, but he plays for the Lakers, and he was a top draft pick out of LSU. And I remember him saying to some good old boys, talking about how he should stay in school and, of course, get your education. And he's saying, I'm passing up millions of dollars on my talent, but LSU is selling his jersey, LSU is marketing him in their programs when he was in college. LSU has him in all their media, their sports athletic department media guides, and he can't get $1 from LSU. But now that he's in the NBA, he's a multi-millionaire. And so I applaud guys that go get the money. It's hard to get an education, but it's even harder to get millions. Big C, your thoughts on that, Prince C?
We're talking, there's been so many players who bought education over the years, not just players, other people. When you think about these honorary doctorates, you're a doctor now, okay? And some school gave it to you because you donated some money or whatever you did with that university. But, you know, when you have an opportunity to get a job, you think about a lot of these electronic firms when they hire these young geek kids out of high school and bring them in. And someone, they don't have a college education. You look at Simi Valley, Charlton. I mean, not Simi Valley, but Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley, yeah.
And you look at that. Look how many people in Silicon Valley, Charlton, didn't have college degrees.
I know. That's true.
And they got a job because they were tech wizards, Charlton. They learned as kids to become computer geeks. And they were hired up. You think about one of the biggest hackers ever, who stole money, you know, and he was hired by, he was a teenager. He was hired by the banks of New York as a security, you know, person, because he learned how to break the codes on all their systems. He was too young to put in prison for a length of time, so they finally hired him as a security director. You know, he didn't have a college degree, but he learned what to do. In the white tech world, Charlton, no one says that someone has to have a college degree to work. But as a professional athlete, since majority of them are minority race, people say, well, they need to go to college. Because without them in college, how the college is going to make money? You know, we saw that brand of football back in the 60s, pre-integration.
That's a good point.
We don't want to see that anymore. That's what people say. We don't want to see that brand of football and basketball that we saw pre-integration. Where it was slow. And it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. That's where that phrase came from, Charlton. 3 yards in a cloud of dust because they couldn't run any further.
Well, you know what?
Get away from anybody.
That's a very salient point you're making, and I want to bring it up because it's about money in this world. As we get into the bowl system, you're going to hear everybody saying how much money the national championship game will pay out. It's usually about $17 million split by the two schools in it. And then we're going to see the other bowls. How much do they pay out? $7 million, $5 million, $4 million, even $2 million is almost a joke. No one wants to pay where they're only getting $2 million, Big C. But the point you just brought up is so powerful because money rules the world. With President Trump talking about his tax cut, for all of the black athletes that help make college football a billion-dollar industry, they get no money. None, zero, zilch, nada, nothing. And they're making $1 billion collectively for these schools. Primarily, they're all African-American kids, Big C. Before we get into the next thing, I want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry. And boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around for half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, your high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. Or you can call 1-800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624 and tell them that Big C sent you. Big C, I do want to touch on what we saw over the weekend. Number one, I want to congratulate the guys up north, the good old boys up north in Canada. They've celebrated the Grey Cup. I believe they've been planning for 105 years. The Toronto organized over the Calgary Stampede 27-24 in a dynamite game. I think Toronto has 15 Grey Cups back up there in Canada, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this was a game that was played in the Great White North, as they say. It was played in Ottawa, Canada, the nation's capital. And it was actually the 17th Grey Cup victory for the Toronto Argonauts franchise, beating the Calgary Stampeders, Charlton. But a game that was played in blizzard-type conditions as they normally play up north. But this game came down to a last-minute field goal by the Toronto Argonauts to beat the Calgary Stampeders, you know, for this festive event. And you think about it, the coach that led the Argonauts, Charlton, Mark Trestman had coached in the CFL back in the 2000 to 2012 with the Montreal Alouettes. He won 2 Grey Cup championships there. After that, in 2013, he was hired by the Chicago Bears as their head coach, Charlton. Unceremoniously, like every coach with the Bears, he had 2 bad years and was let go.
He had to go, he
went back up to Canada and subsequently ended up getting hired last year by the Argonauts as their head coach. and a year later he takes them to their 17th championship all time, Charlton. So just a great congratulations to the teams up north who play that 3-down football in the cold weather.
Oh, yeah.
On that big field.
Frozen tundra.
And,
just like in the frozen tundra, Big C. Go right ahead.
Yeah, it was truly the frozen tundra, Charlton, and watching that game last night, I mean, the blizzard whiteout conditions, but,
yep.
Celebration nevertheless for the city and the people of Toronto.
Beautiful, beautiful football weather up there, up north. And I do want to say from Prince Big C and Prince Charlton, whoa, Canada, home in native land. Big C, do I get it like a beat?
They sung it in French last night. There was some French singers. I'm waiting on you to give me that.
I gotta get my hooked on phonics before I do the French version, but I will do the English version again. Congratulations to the CFL doing football over 105 years. Congratulations, Toronto Argonauts. Big C, on the NFL, I look at what happened at one of the biggest games for one of the marquee receivers in the history of the NFL. I think he's number 5 now on the all-time receiving list, and that's Fitzgerald out of Arizona. And they shocked the Jaguars 27-24 down in the desert. And I know they're probably looking on the outside, looking into the playoffs. But what's it mean when a guy like Larry Fitzgerald can keep bringing it and they get a surprising win over the Jacksonville Jaguars? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Fitzgerald has done it with class his entire career. He's one of those few players in the NFL that you haven't heard anything negative about throughout his career. But, he was brought up the right way. His dad was in the media back in Minneapolis. He was always around the Minnesota Vikings training camp, Charlton.
Yep.
So he saw players from an early age, and so he was not awestruck when the game came to him. It was just natural, Charlton, when he went to the University of Pittsburgh and later on being a number 1 draft pick of the Arizona Cardinals, Charlton, and he's had an illustrious career to stay healthy, to be able to accumulate those catches and yards, Charlton, over his time in the NFL. He also, a couple of weeks ago, signed an extension to the contract to take him through the 2018 season with the Arizona Cardinals, so he will retire as a Cardinal, Charlton, and one of the all-time greats in the NFL.
Yeah, he's definitely been a guy that people would say, just throw it to him. He reminds me of Jerry Rice. He didn't have to be open. Just throw the ball and he'd go up and get it. And speaking of going up and getting it, on the West Coast, I'm really proud of L.A., the L.A. Basin, because L.A.'s kind of a front-running city. If you're the Dodgers and you're in first place, obviously people support the Dodgers anyway, but they just had this great year, this great run with the Dodgers going to Game 7 in the World Series and losing to the Houston Astros. And then you know how good the Lakers have been. Kobe hit 60 on his last game at L.A. They have nothing but championships from the Forum in Inglewood to the Staples Center downtown. The Rams and the Saints had a large crowd, about 70,000 fans, to watch that game. And the Rams, I thought the Saints had more that the Rams could give them. But I'm impressed with the Rams after being beaten up in Minnesota to come back home and get some good cooking. Big C, your thoughts on that win?
Well, Charlton, the defense played tremendous in that game. You also got to look at New Orleans were out their top 2 cornerbacks, so it was a perfect storm for Jared Goff, and he had a masterful game. Charlton passing for 356 yards after being held in check week before by that Vikings defense. It was a tremendous week for just Los Angeles football in total. You look at what Dallas did, what San Diego did in Dallas on Christmas Day, and you take Jared Goff and Phillip Rivers' numbers, Charlton. These 2 quarterbacks passed for over 775 yards in those 2 games against those teams, Charlton. So it was an air raid attack. Todd Gurley had a solid game on the ground and out of the backfield, Charlton. But that receiving core that they have in Los Angeles, Charlton, has really helped Jared Goff out. Everybody was down on him, even us last year in his rookie season, because he just didn't play the way we thought he would play.
That was real talk.
He came out, he seemed to have a lot of uncertainty about him, but he has a coach in McVay who understood him, Charlton, who was putting things in perspective for him. And Jared Goff has really developed in leaps and bounds. I know everyone talks about Carson Wentz progression, but I like what Jared Goff has done as a sophomore even more than what Carson Wentz, even though Philadelphia has a better record. You have to look at the steps that Jared Goff has taken, Charlton, from that abysmal rookie year to where he is now. He didn't even dress for the first half of the season last year.
No.
They felt that he couldn't even support an NFL uniform, let alone throw an NFL football.
That's a
but
good
when
point.
you look at what he has done, Charlton, this season,
yep,
I think, he could be in the run for MVP this season.
That's a good point, Big C. Also, we'll touch on tonight's Monday night game before we get into the other games. We have Baltimore at home versus Houston, and Baltimore's favored by 7. I know that both of these teams, Houston's not going anywhere because they don't have Watson, obviously. They don't have Watt on defense. And Baltimore, they just find ways to win. But I want to get your thoughts on, do they even have a chance to keep playing hard, because it looks like Pittsburgh's going to win that division, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you're looking at two teams that have a combined 9-11 record, okay?
Yeah.
This is what Monday Night Football is going to be. You got two teams with a combined 9-11 record.
Yeah.
So, this is not boding well for the NFL. When they talk about the ratings are down, the NFL has to do something about picking the games in primetime spots.
Yeah.
You got to be able to move some records, take some games off of Sunday and make it for Monday, Charlton.
Yeah.
Just for that various reason, because this is not a game other than the people that live in those local areas that really care to watch.
Yeah.
And Joe Flacco, you would expect Baltimore to be much better than what they are. Houston, they have nothing left. They have no quarterback. The defense has been abysmal this year. It's been really beaten up. They have no pass rush that we had grown accustomed to coming out of Houston. But when you look at Baltimore, they have a proud defense.
Yep.
But offensive lackluster has been what they have been this year, Charlton. Total inconsistency. Who's going to show up? Which Joe Flacco is going to be there? Is it going to be the Joe Flacco who can get you 250 yards? Or is it Joe Flacco who can only get you 125?
Well, I think we'll find out in a few hours, Big C. I also want to touch on another game, the Titans 20, the Colts 16. Even though the Colts are not a good team, they played Tennessee tough, and the Tennessee gets the win. But I want to get your thoughts on what it means for Mariota. Once they lost that game earlier in the year to Oakland, they've really been on a roll, and they're playing good football right now, Big C. Your thoughts on Tennessee?
Well, they have to keep playing consistent football, Charlton. They have a dominant running game that they have to really depend on.
Yep.
Mariota is a good medium passer, Charlton.
Yeah.
And, when he goes downfield, he doesn't have that game-breaking receiver that, everybody's grown accustomed to.
Yeah.
So he has to play within his confines. His best assets are his tight end and his running back.
Yep.
As long as he keeps those guys in play, Charlton, they'll do well. The Indianapolis Colts, Charlton, what can you say about this organization? They got a young quarterback that they're trying to develop in percent because they don't know if, Andrew Luck will ever be back again. At least the owner says it's all in his head. And the head coach, he's just riding out the storm right now.
Yeah, he's definitely riding out that storm, Big C. Lots of thunder and lightning clouds hanging around that stadium. I look at Carolina, a surprising close game against the New York Jets, but the Jets are a lot better than their record is. And you have the Panthers 35-27 over the Jets in front of 77,000 fans at MetLife. Just give me your thoughts on Cam Newton, how well he played. And I look at the first downs. The Jets had 21 first downs to Carolina 17, but the Panthers get the win in that big game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this was a very disappointing game to me from the Cam Newton perspective, Charlton. He only completed 11 passes in this entire game.
Yeah.
That's pathetic for a starting NFL quarterback.
I agree.
Especially a guy who was MVP last year.
Yeah.
You can't praise Cam Newton at all for his lackluster performance. They came out and they were looking to get this victory, Charlton. They had a pick six, and they had a kick return for a touchdown. So the defense and special teams won this game for Carolina, not by Cam Newton, Charlton. He just happened to be along for the ride, and as a quarterback, you get all the praise when your team wins.
Yep.
But Cam Newton needs to stand up and say, hey, I sucked in this game.
Yeah, and you're right.
All but for me, this team would have lost.
That's real talk.
Because it was our defense that really won this game. Cam Newton was just a passenger in that car.
Yeah, that's a good point, Big C. And when we look at also in the NFC, you look at the Eagles, they're just rolling right now. A 31-3 beat down of the Bears. And the Bears are who we thought they were. So we know the Bears were not going to play that strong. But if I'm telling you, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing that Philly's rolling like this, because they're going to get tested eventually up in Seattle. Is when I think they may drop a game. But I look at the first downs, 24-8, Philadelphia over Chicago. And I just want to get your thoughts on the Eagles. Is it bad that they're winning blowout games, because in the playoffs they're not going to be any blowout wins? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what we're getting is the Nick Saban effect over the next 2 weeks, okay?
Yeah.
The ratings don't mean anything, because over the next 2 weeks, the Eagles will play Seattle next week. The following week, they'll play the Rams.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going up to Seattle and play the Seahawks. Whatever the Seahawks are paying Russell Wilson, Charlton, they're not paying him enough, okay?
Yeah.
This is a guy who's accounting for 85% of their offense.
Yeah.
85%. No other NFL quarterback has that much pressure put on him. You're the team's leading rusher, and you're the team's leading passer. So you think about what Russell Wilson has to go through, and you have an abysmal offensive line. This is something they haven't given him since they went to the Super Bowl, Charlton, is a decent offensive line. People talk about Seattle struggles. It's on their offensive line. Not that the Legion of Boom is hurt, not playing the way they did 3 years ago, but Russell Wilson is basically 100% of Seattle's offense because everybody else is watching him play.
That's a good point.
This is going to be a test. As we said about college football, there's a 2-week stretch where you will see a lot of players, a lot of teams replaced. This will be the telltale for the Eagles. If they can run this gauntlet over the next 2 weeks, they'll be in the Super Bowl. But if they have a hiccup, everybody will know their vulnerability against the NFC West.
That's a good point, Big C. I look at some of the numbers. Trubisky, 17 of 33, 2 interceptions, only 147 yards. Wentz was 23 of 36, 227 yards. So, again, they look very good, but if you're not tested going into the playoffs, sometimes you can make an early exit. I look at the Bengals, and their 30-16 win over the Browns. They win the championship of the state of Ohio. So congratulations for winning the Ohio championship, Big C. But I don't know if that's going to help them out when it's trying to get into the playoffs. And I look at 51,000 showing up in a stadium that holds almost 70,000 fans. And I just want to get your thoughts on the Bengals with the win over the Browns. Are the Browns just looking to rebuild for next year? There's really not much to fight for, Big C. Your thoughts?
Isn't that every year, Charlton, with the Browns? Next year, we're rebuilding for next year. Maybe we need to let those analytics people know you can't keep rebuilding. When you look at, the parity talent in the NFL, that's why you don't have dominant teams in the NFL, Charlton, across the board. You don't have 10 dominant teams. There's too much parity. Even the bad teams, you see them with close losses. Even a close loss is not a moral victory. But they're hanging in there because of the parity, Charlton. And, even with the parity, it's watered down parity. When you think about expansion, anytime you have expansion, there's not enough great quarterbacks to go around in this league. As we talked about last week, there's been 46, 48 different starting quarterbacks in the NFL already this year. And so when you think about that in a 32-team league, that there's been 48 different starting quarterbacks. That means that the talent is not there. And when you have teams, Charlton, that at this point of the season where you've played 10 games, you only have 2 or 3 victories, and you're looking around in your division, and people are saying, this is the best that you have to offer us, but you want me to pay full price for a ticket, and I can't get a complete game out of a team.
That's a good point, Big C. I think obviously it's all about who's going to pay what and who's going to earn it, but a lot of guys are getting the money and they're not necessarily living up to how much money they're getting. I want to take you to another game, this time out on the West Coast. The Seattle Seahawks 24-13 victory over the 49ers at Levi Stadium, and they announced the crowd of 70,000. And I thought maybe I need to clean my eyes because I know I counted on my hands and toes, and there must have been about 40,000 fans in that game. But, I mean, the 49ers are having it tough. And I look at the Seattle Seahawks. They've been hurt on defense, but they're still a team that knows how to win in big games. Big C, your thoughts on Seattle getting the win at San Francisco?
Well, Charlton, that's a place that anybody should go in and get a win. This is an organization without organization, Charlton. They're trying to figure out what they're doing from the GM on down to the sideline. Because everybody's new. It's new for Shanahan. It's new for Lynch. But one of the things that they've learned that losing is repetitious here in the Bay Area, Charlton, because it's been that way through the last 3 head coaches. And when your talent doesn't improve, I don't care who you bring in as coach, you have to change the culture. That's what has not happened in San Francisco, is that you can't keep the people around that were accustomed to losing and expect them to teach the guys who come in new how to win.
Big C.
It's almost like a cancer.
You got to cut it out. You got to cut it out in order for the body to live. I think it's also like, what do you guys call those dogs that don't hunt? All they do is eat, but they don't hunt anymore. What do you guys call them down south, Big C?
Well, they don't live here anymore.
You ship those dogs off to the orphanage, okay? Thus, sometime them good old boys down in San Francisco, they got to find somebody who can play. I look at passing. Wilson was 30 of 24, had 1 pick, 228 yards. And Bethard from San Francisco was 22 of 38, 1 pick, 201 yards. Garoppolo was 2 of 2 for 18 yards. 2 of 2 for 18 yards, and they acted like he was going to be the next Joe Montana. Big C, your thoughts on Garoppolo? 2 of 2 for 18 yards. What was all that hoopla about bringing this guy from New England? What does Belichick know that the good old boys in San Francisco don't know? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he threw a touchdown as time expired, which, excited a lot of people. But you also got to look. Seattle didn't care at that point.
No, I know. Is it pre-Yale? That's funny, Big Z. I'm glad you kind of holding that. They're trying to... Go ahead, Z.
You look at it, and even Shanahan said, that doesn't change what our plans were.
Yeah.
Their plans, and I guarantee you this, Charlton, are not to play Garoppolo. Their plans are...
They better trade him. They better trade him.
They're going to trade him on draft day. He's going to be part of a blockbuster trade to get a couple of draft picks. Because they showcased him.
Yeah.
He threw a touchdown. Now, they sit him back on the bench if Bessett is healthy.
Yeah.
They can sit him back down. They show, he threw a touchdown, only took him 2 plays.
He threw 18 yards.
Yeah. So he's a marketing tool right now.
Yeah.
To get the draft picks. That's all Garoppolo is. It doesn't do them any good to trade him.
No, not at all.
The best bet is to keep him idle on the bench.
Yep.
Pay him his little money. And trade him on draft day,
yeah,
and let somebody else stockpile you with another 2 or 3 players.
Yeah, just like you guys trade those dogs that don't hunt anymore after they get full on turkey. Like, where was that dog? Which dog did you have that ate a lot of the turkey? You guys were doing some good up cooking. You said one of the dogs ate the turkey mix. Is that what you said?
I think he choked on the ball, dog, because we didn't see him anymore.
You can't have the dog. That's funny. The dog said he thought you were bringing a turkey for him. That's so funny, Big C. I want to look at, speaking of turkeys, I look at the Atlanta Falcons at 34-20 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Julio Jones is starting to show. He's starting to play the way people know he can, but you got to get him the ball in order for him to play. And he had another big game for the Falcons. But just give me your thoughts on the Falcons when they had to win. They went up to Seattle. They got to win in a hostile environment. Now they come back home again in a game that they could have been overlooking in Tampa Bay. But the Falcons look like they're a playoff team, but sometimes they just have a lot of bad luck too. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the bad luck was throwing the ball, having Julio Jones having 12 catches for 251 yards.
Yep.
We had talked about that last week, that Julio Jones needs to see the ball at least 10 times every game.
Yeah, every time.
When you're only throwing the ball to him 4 and 5, 6 times a game, he's not going to have those breakout games. But, Matt Ryan realizes that if I'm going to look good, then Julio Jones looks good.
Yeah.
It came to his fruition.
Yep.
But, this is a guy, he's like Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
When you put the ball in their hands, Charlton, good things will happen.
Yeah.
They're number 1A and 1B in receivers in the NFL. Why not give him the ball 10, 12 times a game, Charlton? Because only good things are going to happen. Who can cover Julio? He's 6'4", 220 pounds, Charlton.
Nobody can cover him.
You can't cover. He's a mismatch every time you see him down the field, but yet you want to take him out of your offense.
No, that's a great point. He reminds me so much, and I'm not saying this flippantly, but Jerry Rice, you always knew Jerry wasn't the fastest guy. He wasn't the biggest guy, but Jerry Rice made plays. And even when I think back to that good old boy Cliff Branch that played for the Raiders back in the day, he was a fast guy, but he also could catch. And they had Fred Biletnikoff. Everything he touched had stickum on it. They said turn the goal. It would just stickum. It didn't turn the goal. It was just a lot of stickum on Biletnikoff's hands. But I look at Julio Jones and watching the game like that, Big C, where he accounts for more yards than about half the quarterbacks in the NFL pass floor on Sunday, and he didn't have more than 4 catches in the Super Bowl. That's why the Falcons lost the Super Bowl. It wasn't because the Patriots were so great. They forgot that good old dog that would hunt for him, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, a lot of times you have players on your team that are egotistical.
Yep.
And they think that it's all because of them that the team wins.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, you think what Russell Wilson would do with a Julio Jones.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
You look how effective he is with nothing around him. Give him a receiver like Julio Jones or any other quarterback, Charlton,
yep,
who is willing to throw the ball downfield to the receivers. Look how Jared Goff grew up this year when they gave him some receivers.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
He has 3 new receivers, actually 4 because his tight end is new. He has 4 new receivers. Jared Goff grew up. Carson Wentz, they went out and got him some new receivers.
Yep.
He became a much better quarterback. You look at the demise of Dez Bryant in Dallas, Charlton.
Yeah.
They did nothing to improve his receiving corps.
No.
Dez Bryant is slower. He doesn't take the cap off the defense.
No.
No one is scared of Dez Bryant. They don't even put double coverage him anymore.
No.
Jason Witten, you cover him with the slowest linebacker on the team. You don't even waste the defensive back on him.
Yeah.
So Kevin Williams is the only speed guy you got, and they just cover him up. Cole Beasley is a short underneath possession route receiver. So when people say that Dez Bryant is struggling, you only have to play man defense against Dallas.
Yeah. And
you can blitz him.
Yeah.
Because he has nobody that can outrun anybody in the secondary, Charlton.
Yeah.
You play one over the top safety. That's all you play against Dallas. Everybody else is man up, and you can bring 6 all the time. That's what's wrong with Dallas. Not Dez Bryant. I mean, not Zach Prescott.
Right.
Is that they have no receiver that can take the top off of defense, Charlton.
That's a good point, Big C. And speaking of taking the top off of defenses, and I love your perspective from a defensive standpoint, because oftentimes television and radio, they focus on offense. They want to make the quarterback the glory guy. But you as a defensive guy saying, the guy that concerns me for Atlanta is Julio Jones. That's something you would think everybody would pay attention to, especially when you're trying to find out how you're going to win a championship. Defense will win championships, but you got a guy like Julio, he has to have 10 to 15 catches. Like Bill Walsh, he used to automatically, he would pre-draft his plays. He knew what you were going to run, and you just went through the play chart. If he don't have 15 plays for the Falcons, that's just almost like neglect, Big C, of your best receiver, I think, at least in the NFC. I also want to take you to another game, kind of in the Midwest. The Buffalo Bills, Tyrod Taylor came back into action, and they go into Alex Smith territory at Kansas City Arrowhead Stadium in front of 74,000, one of the loudest outdoor stadiums in the league, and the Bills get a win over the Chiefs that were rolling in the first 6 weeks of the season. Tyrod Taylor coming off the bench from last week and scoring 2 touchdowns late. You think Buffalo, even though they won this game, they cost themselves to get a chance in the playoffs because they did something stupid and not starting a guy that can go into Arrowhead Stadium and win a big game? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you look at this scenario in Buffalo. If they miss the playoffs by one game, think about it.
Yeah.
One game. They have a chance of missing the playoffs by one game.
They probably will.
Which game would you turn back to and say that's awesome?
Yeah.
Because they'll say, well, they had other losses, but which game do you think is a game that destroyed their momentum?
Yeah.
And I'm confused. Did Tyrod Taylor throw 5 interceptions yesterday?
No, I was counting. No, he didn't throw 5, Big C, no.
Okay, that's one. You know, should they start Peterman this week, Charlton, since Tyrod did throw 5 interceptions?
They probably will.
The most disappointing aspect of this game, Charlton, though, you have to look at the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a team that started out 5-0.
Yeah.
Everybody had them penciled into the Super Bowl.
Yep.
They opened up the season beating up on New England. They beat up on Philadelphia, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so people say, hey, this is a juggernaut that can't stop. Alex Smith had thrown 12 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Yep.
Kareem Hunt was leading the league in rushing.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Charlton, this team's offense just disappeared. And no one knows why. Did Kareem Hunt hit that rookie wall, Charlton, where he got tired?
11.
I know they've had some injuries and stuff, but
yeah,
this is a team that, for some reason has become the total mystery. They've lost 5 of the last 6 games.
Yeah.
Even though in their abysmal AFC West, Charlton, they're still leading that division, but I think the Chargers do have a legitimate chance of catching them.
Yep.
But, people right now calling for Alex Smith to be benched and play Mahomes, the kid that they traded up the draft in the first round out of Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Andy Reid, is a seasoned veteran coach, Charlton.
Yeah.
I don't think it's coming from the coaching in this team. It's just the players are not playing well right now.
Well, you think about it, too, and you just brought up what's wrong with them. They had 14 first downs to Buffalo's 17. And Hunt, they're all everything running back, 11 carries, 17 yards. And you had Smith, 23 of 36, 1 pick, 199 yards. Taylor was 19 of 29, 183 yards. But something that's even more egregious than that from a fan point of view, Tyrod Taylor benched playing at the Chargers. He beat Alex Smith in Alex Smith's backyard, who's a $100 million quarterback. And he goes on the road and beats a guy that hasn't been benched at all since he left San Francisco, and he was injured when Colin Kaepernick took his job. And that just shows you about some of the disparity in the coaching and the thinking. Why would a guy like Tyrod Taylor get benched? And I know we talked about it. And a guy that he goes and beats on the road doesn't get benched, and he can't beat him. my math is not always as smart as Big C, but I'm learning like you. I learned to Google things, Prince C. And in Prince C, one more thing I want to bring up in the AFC West. I look at the Raiders with a 21-14 win over Denver, but I'm disappointed in the behavior of Aqib Talib and Crabtree. These are two guys that are all pro players, and they have a chance to be, I mean, no one wants to be a role model because some guys don't deserve it. But how do you look your team in the eye and say, I'm so selfish, I'm going to go get in a fight with another player and break his gold chain so that I can get kicked out of a game and we're going to lose because you're not going to have my ability? How do you look your teammates in the eye and do that? They've been doing this like every time they play Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this goes back to last year when Talib pulled off Crabtree's chain last year and took off running with it.
Yeah.
So why do you need to wear a gold chain if you're an athlete? I'm confused.
Yeah.
You're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. A lot of them are making millions of dollars a year, okay?
Yeah.
Do you need to wear your paycheck around your neck during the game?
No.
When you think about it, only the diva players, Charlton, wear those chains. You don't see an offensive lineman with a chain around his neck.
No.
You don't see a defensive lineman with a chain around his neck. You don't even see a quarterback with a chain around his neck. And they make more money than everybody.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's these diva wide receivers sitting out there with these chains flying out of their uniform. I really don't blame Khalid for pulling the chain because Crabtree should not be wearing that in a game. The stuff should be banned. If it's not part of the uniform, the NFL has uniform policy.
Yep.
If it's not part of the uniform or sanctioned by the NFL, you should get a fine for it.
Yeah.
So I don't blame Talib. He puts that chain in jeopardy, drag it off. It's like the players who wear the dreads.
Yeah.
If you get that come out of here, oh well, it's not yours anyway.
Big C, I love your defensive swagger because the reason those offensive linemen don't wear chains because you good boys pull them off. Big C, that's why they don't wear chains. Big C.
It wouldn't be an offensive lineman or defensive lineman that's with the chain with all the holes that goes on there. But Charlton, what you think about this? Talib has that history.
Yeah.
And I was shocked that the league did anything to Talib about this. You think about here's a guy who shot himself, and the league didn't do anything about it.
Enough said.
Everybody else who shot himself, the league suspended him. The league shot his own self. Now think about this.
Yeah.
Both of these guys live in Texas. If they that pissed off with each other, they know where to find each other in the offseason.
That's funny. Hey, if they really want to be tough, just get into the MMA. Quit fighting with a football helmet on. Get into the MMA, and you can let yourself. What did Richard Pryor say? Jim Brown told him, gentlemen, I think if you let the man go, he could express himself a little better when he hit him with that rubber brick. Is that what he said, Big C?
The whole thing is, if these guys really wanted to fight, why are you running from each other while you're swinging? Okay?
Yeah.
I've always wondered that. I look at those soft basketball players.
Yeah.
But then, you got football players with helmets on. We saw this with A.J. Green and Ramsey a couple of weeks ago with Cincinnati and Jacksonville.
Yeah.
You're swinging at a guy with a helmet on. Now these helmets withstand collisions, okay?
Yeah.
They withstand 1,500 pounds of force on a full-on collision.
Yeah.
And yet, I don't know how much your fist can generate if you're a wide receiver. You can only bench press 250 pounds.
Right.
But you ain't hurting nobody.
No, that's funny. I think it's all fair love and war. 2 more games, Big C. And I look at the Patriots. They're playing their old playoff selves right now. Tom Brady, I know he's 40, but he's playing more like he's 25. And you look at the Dolphins, and I don't know what to say about Cutler, sleepy-eyed Cutler, but the Dolphins, no match for New England. They're playing in playoff form 35-27 at Foxborough in front of 65,000 fans. And I look at this game. New England had 25 first downs. Miami had 15, but Tom Brady, again, leads a great offense. No matter who they have, it seems like they always find a way to get it done. Your thoughts on the Patriots, Big C?
Well, Charlton, so many weapons that are integral with each other, and they don't have one guy to say, hey, we got to have this guy in the offense to win.
Nope.
That's what diversity will do, and New England has found a way to market that, Charlton, to basically, to say, hey, we're the only team that's a system team in the NFL that everybody plays their role, and we don't have any egos, not even quarterback.
Yeah.
When you look at other quarterbacks in press conferences, Charlton, after games, they're talking about me and I.
Yeah.
New England, regardless of love or hate Tom Brady, is that we.
Yeah.
We can. We are.
Yeah.
That's success.
Yeah.
And it keeps rolling.
Yeah, and he obviously, he played against Moore yesterday. Moore started for the Miami, but just the attitude. Brady at least has the right attitude. He's been doing it since he was at Sarah High School in San Mateo as a prep star, and then at Michigan, way back in the day. And now for New England, we know what he brings. He's consistent. But that makes New England consistent, too. They have the coaching. They have a lot of structures in place. It doesn't matter who they have. Brady he was 18 of 28, had one pick, 227 yards. But you don't notice that when they win 35-17, they double up their conference opponents and a team that normally plays them tough. So congratulations to New England. Big C, final game. I want to call you Prince C for Prince C and Big C Sports. Final game last night. I look at Hundley and how I said, did Aaron Rodgers get a suntan? Because Hundley was playing like he was Aaron Rodgers last night, Big C. It took the Pittsburgh Steelers down to no time left on the clock, and Big Ben rallied with Antonio Brown, I think the best receiver in the AFC. Your thoughts on the 31-28 win? And I guess Tomlin can coach, even though some good old don't like him, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Hundley actually played a decent game last night for the Green Bay Packers. And, I guess the real mystery in this, Charlton, is that the Pittsburgh plays to the talent level that they're playing.
Yeah.
This is a team that, is not always up, it seems, until they got their backs up against the wall.
Yeah.
And Hundley, it was good to see him develop. Mike McCarthy put in a game plan.
Yeah.
That worked for him.
Yeah.
Not worked for the team, that worked for Hundley. And he had some success last night.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, Charlton, and you just can't say enough about Antonio Brown. He had 12 catches, 176 yards last night.
Yep.
And you just can't cover this guy.
No.
You think about the consecutive 1,000-yard seasons that he has had, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's probably the greatest receiver to ever play for the Steelers. And I mean, we're talking John Stallworth and Lynn Swann, lower.
Yeah.
But what he has done, his numbers have exceeded what they had their entire careers already, Charlton.
Yeah.
And, Antonio Brown and Big Ben, and then you got Le'Veon Bell, basically the three killer bees that the Steelers have now in their offense. Ben, Bell, and Brown.
Yeah.
And they all get the job done, Charlton. This offensive line is a lot better than what people think.
Yep.
It gives Ben time to survey the field, to check down its progressions. And he was doing it last night at an all-star click.
Yeah, and one thing, too, that I really appreciate is the catch that Brown made on the sideline. I think he got the ball caught with about 4 seconds left. And because they were going to have to go into overtime, and that got them close enough to kick a 53-yard field goal that would have been good from about 56 yards. But it's about Tomlin. It's about that attitude they have. Mel Blount was there before the game, and I think Mean Joe Green was there, and they had who's that good old boy that ate like a lot of turkeys for Thanksgiving? They got it running back out of Notre Dame, Bettis. Bettis was there too, and Bettis looks he looks bigger than Mean Joe Green, at least in the waist. But obviously a great game by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we know we love football. We love a lot of things. I do want to say, for anyone looking for work, if you're looking to get work in the insurance industry, call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're also looking to advertise on the biggest sports network in the universe, call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. I also want to say across the pond, congratulations, Prince Harry, and his beautiful gonna-be bride, Meghan Markle. And good for all the good old boys all over the world to see something like that happening. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always say, Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Prince, Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I'm looking at the selection committee for the playoffs, Charlton, in college football. They danced around for the past couple of weeks. They got to make another mistake again tonight in their selection committee, Charlton. And so it's going to be quite interesting when it comes out tomorrow who they have in the bowl positions.
Yeah.
But, this is not all over with. We got to get through those conference championship games next week, Charlton. And 3 of the top 4 that we have tomorrow night will change the following week.
Well, that seems to change. That's the only thing that's constant is change. But something that's constant that won't change is every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Prince Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say that's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, please call 911 because no woman should have to deal with that garbage on her own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.